your voice, your power. I am Anika Wilson, and we have one of our power panels today. We are talking about living and creating a sustainable lifestyle. So, of course, we're going to start off with a definition of what a sustainable lifestyle means. Describes a lifestyle that attempts to reduce an individual or society's use of Earth's natural resources and one's personal resources. Becoming aware of your choices in food, products, and energy use. Basically, it means think twice before you act. So, we are going to start off with brief introductions of our panel. And we're going to start with my amazing friend, cohort, and mentor, Kathy McKinnon. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Anika. Thank you for the lovely introduction, as always. Love chatting with you. I feel like we could chat forever when we chat. But to introduce myself, I'm Kathy McKinnon. I'm a transformation coach, and I've taken my own story, my own mess, and now I help other women step into that lifestyle that aligns with the gifts that they were given so that they can truly shine and show up as best they can for those around them in the world. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. So let's go to Candace. Candace, can you introduce yourself to the world?
Hello, everybody. Yes, I am Candace Mallicoat. I am a psychic strategist and oracle, working mostly with business owners, but helping people really tap into their intuition and their own psychic abilities to gain an edge and manifest with more consistency and ease, clarify and even identify life purpose, and really just bring some magic into whatever it is that you're doing and trying to change and create in your life. And so, yeah, I have been doing that, and numerology readings and card readings as well. It's something I get super fired up about. So I am excited to talk about this today. Thanks for having me.
Candace, you just said my favorite word, which is intuition. It's my jam. I love it. I think it's so important, and I think we dismiss it way too much, and I think it's a lifesaver. So thank you for what you do. All right, Eric, can you introduce yourself to the world?
Good afternoon or evening, morning, wherever everyone is. I'm Eric Jones Jr., the Underdog with the Heroic Heart. I'm a podcast host. It's a Jones Thing podcast. I have a clothing line. It's called Christian Dewan. It's with my son. I'm an author, a mentor, basketball coach. I'm just here to impact others by telling my story. And thank you for the opportunity.
It is a pleasure to have you. Let's go to Ibukwe. Okay, let's go to Joyce. Joyce, can you introduce yourself to the world?
Hi, how y'all doing? How you doing? Thanks for having me today. Well, my name is Joyce Jennings, and I am a published author, speaker, spoken word author, spoken word artist, and also I go by the name Miss Sade as far as business goes. And I'm here to empower women, females of all ages, because I was broken. And it's not because of fault of my own, because of dysfunctional family. I can show women how to make themselves whole again so they would not make the same mistakes I did growing up. It's not because I made the mistakes, because I didn't know any better. And I believe with anybody, if they know better, they would do better.
All right, now, spoke the truth. All right, so I'm going to start off just opening up the door because, you know, when we think about living a sustainable lifestyle, it's a vague concept because it means something different to everyone else. But for most of us, we have created a life of educating, empowering, and inspiring others. But that always comes with a price. Most of us have experienced something that has led us to make the decisions and the choices that we now make, as Joyce just stated, because we now know better. You know, when you face adversity in your life, you face health challenges, you face crisis, hopefully it leads you to dig. You know, you got to dig deeper, you got to research, you got to learn, you got to ask questions, you got to build a village, and you have to get external resources. So I'm going to go to Kathy first, and I want Kathy to tell us what led you to create a business based on, I mean, transformation wellness. That speaks for itself, but I know your story, but the world doesn't. So can you talk about what led you to go ahead and create a sustainable lifestyle through leading a business and empowering and inspiring others?
Yeah, which part of my story, I should say, because as I always say, I went through what I call the trifecta of muck in a very short time period. I went through a cancer battle. I went through 5-year infertility battle. And shortly after my son was born, I went through a divorce and transitioning to becoming a single mom. So I went through all the things, all the roller coaster in less than 10 years. And so it felt like I was constantly fighting this uphill battle. But the one of those things that caused me to truly say stuff needs to change was when I was diagnosed with cancer. And I tell this to my clients all the time, like, don't do what I did, and that was wait for that smack by the universe to tell you to get your life in gear. Because I was living carefree, not a thought in the world about what I was doing to my mind, to my body, to my lifestyle. I was young and carefree, and cancer was not even on my mind when I got diagnosed. I was not even 30. I was still in my 20s. So I was vicariously living my 20s, thinking I had all the time in the world to do everything. And then that cancer diagnosis changed the world for me. And it caused me to clean up everything from what I eat to how I move my body to my environment to my home, everything. Because as I told the surgeon when I was diagnosed, like, I'm not done living yet. I'm not done living yet. There is more to life. And so what do I need to do? Because I don't want to be back here. I told the surgeon he had one chance to do it right, because I didn't ever want to see him again. And it was nothing personal. He was a great doctor, but I didn't ever want to be in that position again. And so what do I have to do to maximize the effect that I never have to walk through the doors and see him again? Because there is just an energy about walking into a place labeled the cancer center that changes your entire vibe. Even if you are clean, even if you're just going for your annual checkups, which I do religiously, walking into that place where you see that great big sign that says Cancer Center, I don't ever want to go there again. And so I rehauled my entire life. And then after my divorce, I said, we're starting clean. We moved to a new state. We moved to a new house. My son got a new school. Like, we're leaving all this bad juju, and we are starting the life that we want, how we want, creating it the way we want now. And so it wasn't any one thing. There were different steps along the way. One was, it started with creating sustainability for my health, and then it was turned into sustainability for my mind, and then sustainability for my happiness. So there is no magic switch that we flipped and all of a sudden our life is great, but it's baby steps along the way, right? And it was what was priority at that time. And that's how we tackled it. And now, you know, our life is something that it's chaotic and messy and amazing, all in the same, but we love it and we're having the time of our lives.
I think that's what people are afraid of. They're afraid of the chaos. They're afraid of the effort. They're afraid of change. And you just said something that I love, because people think that I'm crazy when I start over. I am good for packing up, moving, going to a new city, doing something new. Everybody's afraid to make those changes. And in order to create lifestyle changes, a lot of times you have to change your environment. And that is most important. You know, when I worked in substance abuse, I used to make clients move. Don't come here and go back to the same place. When I worked in prison, don't come here and go to the same place, because you're setting yourself up for failure. When you have to have such a huge mindset shift, you have to make sure that you're somewhere that will allow you to make those adaptations.
And that's the thing. I'm not afraid to start over. I am more afraid to settle than to start over. I'll start over 1,000,000 times over before I settle and say, this is it. This is as good as it gets. This is how my life is going to be.
Well, I think my motto is complacency is the enemy. Because you're never going to have change as long as you have complacency.
No. And we are all made for more.
Absolutely. Candace, you have a similar health background, health journey. Can you tell us how you relate to what Kathy just said?
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't really matter what the diagnosis is. It changes your life completely, and it affords you the opportunity to really step up and step into like living sustainably and taking care of yourself. I mean, I had a best friend and my mother-in-law that, and that's the thing, illness can change your personality. It can change, it's hard. You turn into somebody else sometimes. And, but especially when there's and if there's any kind of trauma too, it's easy to fall back into victim states. And I have watched people be presented with information that this is what you can do to really help support your health. And then they choose out, and they become very dark people. And I've had to cut them out of my life. And it just, they make it an identity. And that's one of the things that I like to teach my clients about is not, talking about things like we own them. We definitely wouldn't go to the store and pick divorce off the shelf or cancer off the shelf, so stop saying my cancer, my this, you know what I mean? And taking that ownership. And so as I had watched some people in my life already do that, I was just at this point where I was like, okay, I have to now, I have nothing to lose. I need to believe in all of the magic that I have ever wanted to believe in, and all of the woo-woo and all of the spiritual and the metaphysical. I was like, I have nothing to lose. So I leaned into that and just did all of the mindset work, the affirmations. I did yoga, and I did herbs. I did really weird things that I won't even mention on this call, because it just, just really taking care of myself in all of these ways and believing that I could create whatever it was I wanted, because where I was going was unacceptable. Because I hadn't showered for about 7 days. I don't even think I brushed my teeth for about 3 or 4. And I walked into because I was so tired. I was in bed all the time. And I walked in the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I was just like, I don't even know who that is. I was a mess. I smelled, it was so gross. And I'm like, no, I'm done with this. I'm going to figure out, how to do this. And I looked up the word sustain while we were talking. And the first definition is to strengthen or support physically or mentally. The second definition is to undergo or suffer. And isn't it funny how we have the undergoing the suffering that then strengthens, and we end up, being able to find that support that we need physically and mentally. It's kind of like two sides of the same coin, I feel like. And so, yeah, as Kathy said, I had to look at everything, the kind of sleep, who I was spending my time with, what I was eating, the kind of exercise that I could and could not do, chemicals in things. And so, yeah, and wanting that sustainable life, it took me several years to really get there, but I'm here now. I am now living in the vision that I held on to in 2011, 12, and 13 for the kind of life that I could have, making my own money my way. And, I still have health concerns to address, but I'm way more normal, than I was back then. So yeah, that healing path is a pretty difficult one, but it's also very empowering.
I love that you said that, because a lot of people want instant, gratification. They don't want to do the work. They think that, oh, if I make these changes, then I'll see it immediately. And a lot of them don't understand that it is a process. It is a path. It is a journey. And that's why it's a lifestyle change, because it's not a matter of you just make these changes to get better, get over that one, health crisis, and then you go back to doing whatever it is. No, it's a lifestyle change. Eric, I want to go to you, because she just said a word that made me think of your vision and your purpose. She said suffrage. What does that mean to you, and how does that correlate to your sustainable lifestyle?
So you said suffering, and then with purpose, you gotta go through your pain even while you're in your purpose. So I said I do all those different things, and I suffered, I wouldn't say a loss, but people could say a loss. I got a divorce. And after that divorce, I lost everything. And I had to figure out what the heck I'm going to do, like where I'm going. Now I don't have somewhere to help me, someone there on my side. And I just had to start putting God first and understanding there's a purpose behind this lesson that I have to take. And I still had to walk through my purpose of speaking, coaching, doing all those, being a dad, doing all those different things while I'm jacked up. Like I'm jacked up inside. I don't know, what's going to happen today, where I'm going to be at. And I just started working on myself. I started like, all right, like the Candace said, I looked at myself like, this ain't you. This not Eric. So how can I get back to myself? And like Kathy said, it's a process. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's small steps. You got to take the small wins. You got to write down things. That's one thing that I did. I would write down what I wanted. Even when I had nothing, I wrote down a lot of big dreams that caused money, hard work, sweat, tears. And I knew I would get there because I was born with a disability. And, when you're born with something, that's different than something happening like you getting sick or you breaking a leg or you losing a job. So you start off that way. And I just had to trust the process. And for me, it's just hard. I just can't give up. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. So I just figure out the next move. And once I figured out, I seen a little bit of road, I created a plan, and then I was able to keep going even while I was going through the pain that I was going through. So it's just a process you go through. You have to figure out what works for you to help you make the needle move. And then you're able to start seeing better days, and those bad days that you had are in the past, and you just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And in the very beginning, you said that you have to push through the pain and start in your pain. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the call. Everybody's like, oh, I have to get my life together before I can move on with my vision, with my purpose, with, my mission. And that's not what it's about. Life is a growth process. If we stop to wait to get the whole lesson before we start implementing things, then we'll be dead. And then you'll never accomplish your goals. And so I love that you highlight that, because I think that's the misconception that a lot of people have. And I think that's the barrier to success and living your, life of fulfillment. I think that it's great that you highlighted that, but you also differentiated yourself from the other two guests, from Candace and Kathy, stating that you were born with a disability. And that has a whole different challenge in itself, but then it also has a few benefits, because you know what you need to do to persevere. You know what you need to do for your life. A lot of times I feel like, I have a lot of chronic illness, and I think I get angry sometimes because I'm like, normal people don't have to do this much work just to feel good every day. Normal people don't have to do this to get out of bed. Normal people don't have to do this just to go to school. So I think that, as we talk about the differentiations between how you perceive or address or live, a sustainable life, it's all relative. It's doing the work, accepting, your needs, what you need to be, successful and fulfilled and healthy. So thank you for highlighting all that, because I think that's the message in what we do, is that we show people that you can overcome challenges and barriers and still win.
I think he also said something very important, right? You have to keep moving through the muck.
Yes.
Right. Even when I was still going through the muck, as I call it, and I was doing big, scary things, right? Like, I had not spoken about my story, and then I was asked to publish my story, which was one of the most frightening things I could possibly do for an introvert, for the fact that nobody knew my story, and now you wanted it to be in print. But I knew that the reason it was so scary was I had still not healed. And so we were going to rip off the Band-Aid. We were going to do the big, scary thing and publish it. And while it was terrifying to write it and publish it, and I literally was so anxious I thought I was going to vomit on my friend's shoes, I feel 1,000 times lighter. And it has helped not only me, but it has helped my clients. And so it's doing those big, scary things, even though you're still in the process of healing or going through whatever you're going through, that are the things that will propel you, truly. It doesn't seem like it at the time because it's terrifying, and I know it because I've been there, but it's important to keep doing those big, scary things towards the dream.
Absolutely. And as always, all your medals hanging behind your head intimidate me, because those big scary things are the things that even us, you know, as influencers, I think that people have this perception that we're not afraid, that we don't have the same fears. Exactly. And we wake up every day afraid. Every time I post something, I'm like, what is somebody going to say? What are they going to think? People think that we're not sensitive. People think that it doesn't still hurt. People think that, you know, they have all these thoughts, and they don't understand that we are afraid. That fear is what propels us forward. And if you don't have any fear, then that's not a good thing.
No, and you know, to your point, the medals, this is my reminder to myself that I can do strong things. Because these medals, none of which I had, these were all within maybe the last 5 or 6 years. In high school, I couldn't run a mile. I was the last one to finish. And after high school and college, somebody said something to me about running a 5K, and I said, I don't do running. I don't do that. That thing. I don't do it. And then I decided to do a big scary thing, and it was my first race. And then it became, okay, I want to do something, challenge myself some more. Mm-hmm. But this is my reminder to myself. It doesn't mean that I'm like invincible, I'm Superwoman, I'm so strong. It means that we can fall down and we can get back up.
And you have to put visual reminders around your house. You have to celebrate even the small wins. And I think we overlook those achievements and those accomplishments, which leaves us to stay in the dark and not push forward sooner. I mean, even if you get up and you fight back, a lot of time is wasted in the, you know, in the dwelling on what is and what isn't and what could be. And I know, Eric, for you, you know, being born with a disability, I know regardless of whether you're born with it or whether you get sick, you're like, why me? And then somebody's like, well, why should I be a speaker? Why should I be a coach? Why should I write a book? Why would anybody care about my story? You know, I think that's something that a lot of people are afraid of. And I hope we give them, you know, we give them courage, because we all matter.
Oh, I wonder what Kathy has said, what I got from what she said. You got to do, and what you were saying, you got to do it afraid. Like a lot of times, like you said, people wait. Oh, well, I got to wait till I get this amount of money, or I got to wait till. No, you got to do it afraid. Like I started playing basketball. Every time I'm probably get on the court, I'm afraid because everybody else is bigger than me, and you know they got normal length arms, but I still do it, and I'm still good at it. And then another thing, she said she didn't want to publish her book. Her book wasn't about her. It was about everybody that's going to read it and who's going to be able to change their life from it. So one thing that you have to do, you got to do it afraid, and then it's not about you. Everything that you go through isn't about you, because I'm sure everybody on this panel, every story that we went through and we told someone, it helped them not have to go down that same path.
And that's exactly what I said in sharing my story in the book, which was for me personally terrifying because I hadn't healed, but it was because I didn't want others to go through it in the same way that I did. And if by doing that big scary thing, another woman didn't suffer through it the way I did, then it was all worth it to me.
I'm going to go to Joyce and then Ibukun. Joyce, I want to ask you, from what Kathy, Eric, and Candace have shared, your journey, you know, stems from you growing up in Chicago, then, you know, going into the military. How did your past impact your ability to create a sustainable lifestyle? How did it prepare you for what you were meant to do?
I had to learn to fight real quickly, Maybe that's what led me to the military, because I had practically a fight every day in school, sometimes twice. And also, I grew up in a very, what you call, dysfunctional household where there was a lot of chaos. Okay, I'm going to put it to you that way. And I had to learn myself out of that toxic behavior. That's the purpose of me writing that, to coming, to getting away from Atlanta, to get away from my toxic self, my toxic relatives, my toxic environment, and to start again. And when you say, my theory is speak to your pain, but they're not my words. Those are my life coach word, Sharita. Okay, those are her words. Speak to your pain. I went on. I produced this book, and I was at first started off therapeutic for me to help me write. But then I said I got enough information here. Why don't I publish this to help another woman to see herself, and she can see herself, and that could save another. I'm happy. I'm grateful, because I didn't have anybody when I was growing up, anybody to fight for me, to stand up for me. I had to learn a lot of things on my own. All right. If I knew what I know today, what's that, 20 years ago, I'd be better off than what am right now. But I'm grateful that I have learned it, because some people just, stay stuck. Stay stuck for more than 20 years, like the rest of their life. But I'm glad I was able to get away from Chicago and move and grow up, and I could be a better, I could be a mother to my kids better than what I've received. Not that my mother was a bad mother. I believe she had some issues, and I made a point to say, and I'm going to say it on this show, the generational curse stops here. The codependency, the shame, the embarrassment, uh, that's all stopped right here.
And you know what? There are so many people that need that. There are so many people that know that they need it, and they're afraid to, break the curse. And that's why I love that you talk about toxic relationships. A lot of people are unable to identify that it's toxic. A lot of people are unable to identify that their environment is toxic, that it may not be them. I mean, if you put a molded fruit in a basket with other molded fruit, I mean, it's not going to thrive. So a lot of people are so afraid that their problems are their problem, but it may not even be their problem. It could be environmental. And that's why sustainable lifestyle and sustainable living, it's not just about your personal impact, your personal presence, your personal issues. It's about the environment. It's about social. It's about relationships. It's about, what you're putting in your body, what you're inhaling, what you're around. And I think that we have to become more aware of how each of these factors impact our lives and what we can do about it.
And basically what I'm focusing on is, when you come up in a toxic environment, you attract, and you don't know it, toxic people. Okay. And you create these toxic relationships because you don't know any better. But when you move out in the real world, you will learn, or you will learn, well, wait a minute, this is what my family did, or my people did when I was growing up, but that's not what everybody else in the world is doing. All right. And why I wrote my book, because I didn't know any better. But then again, I had to go to work on me too, because again, knowing that this was toxic, I had toxic people in my work environment. And I'm like, it's not the job that I didn't like, it's the people, because they're bringing their stuff with them and speaking on their stuff at the job. And for somebody who I don't like, I know how many kids, they tell me how many kids their mama had. Like I really care, but may not know that much about my own friends, after a while getting to know them. But here are people I don't like talking about how many kids their mama had, how their wife put them out. And the people I'm referring to right now are the people that I'm almost forced to work with, that I didn't like, and made it their business to talk to me anyway. I don't know why, but they did. And that's what my book is about, discussing about how people, and another characteristic of toxic people, knowing that you are not particularly accepted, but you make it your business to come around people who don't particularly favor you.
Do
Why
you
do
know,
you think you're going to win them over? No.
do you
That's
know
way
what's funny, Joyce?
what?
I actually became an entrepreneur specifically for that reason. I got tired of working in toxic environments, and I realized that I no longer wanted to be forced to accept the environments that I worked in. And that's something that I think a lot of people are afraid to do. They're afraid to change your environment. And when we say the word environment, it's a lot bigger than your city, your neighborhood. It's your house, it's your community, it's
Company.
your church. Exactly. It's the company you keep, it's your location, it's everything about what can influence you, who you are, what you do, how you think, and how you live. And so I want to thank
Mhm.
you for highlighting that. And I'm going to go to Ibukun because she has a completely different perspective than what each of us have talked about. Ibukun says that
Yay.
she thinks that it is an eternal reflection of who you want to be. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Okay. Growing up in Nigeria, I feel like there's a way we react to things that's so different from the way people maybe all around the world react to things. Like when we're younger, I mean, like when I was born, like we didn't have stable light, so it's just like a simple conversation between the government and the people. Like, hey, government, we need stable lights in this country. Government's like, no. We're like, oh, okay, it's okay. We can get a gen. We can get solar panel. Hey, government, we need a school system in this country. No. And then we're like, okay, it's okay. Private schools can function. It's gonna be good. Everybody's gonna be happy. And like, it's just been a very passive way of dealing with things because nobody really wants to deal with anything. And I think in a way religion kind of snuck in there very powerfully because most people just like, oh, let's just pray our problems away, which I love Christianity. I'm a Christian, but I don't think everything can be prayed away. So like it's always been like a passive way of looking at things, not actually changing yourself and being who you want to be. Like even like in school, in doing university, the way the school was run, the administration was run, wasn't really good. And a bunch of people were like, hey, let's protest. Let's say this isn't okay. And people were like, yeah, let's not do that. So basically, that's how I graduated. And recently, for like 2 weeks now, the people have finally said, we're done with this. We're done with not saying anything. We're done with being passive. So these people are like, in a way I mentioned, I'm using this country as an example because I don't think I have enough. I'm 24. I don't think I have enough like life experience to talk about mine. Okay, so yeah. So basically, recently for 2 weeks now, people have been protesting, people have been talking about what they want. And just seeing how deep rooted and terrible the leadership has been made me shocked. I didn't realize how much these people have gotten away with. And I think, in a way, not keeping quiet and being passive for such a long time has brought up so much dirt and so much toxic behavior that this government have been doing. And now it's just coming to the light, and everybody's like, every day I am even more shocked than I was the next day, finding out, okay, this government did this. What? So like, yeah, I feel like the more we just remain passive, and the more we don't want to change, we don't envision the future, the more we don't um the more we don't like look at our future, that's the more dirt gets put in and dug out and gets put in. And the more we now start talking about it, the more we start looking at and seeing all these things. So that's it.
you brought up a great point. You talked about passivity. You know, there's a lot of people that are passive, or may say introverted, or afraid. Let's just be real. Some people are just, you know, not confrontational, afraid to speak up, but miserable because they know that it's not the way it should be. And so I want to
Yeah.
open this up to the panel and ask everyone, how do you begin to change your current lifestyle and create a sustainable, healthy lifestyle?
Ah, I would like to, first of all, I like to say you have to change yourself, and you can change yourself by self-love and change the company that you're with. I don't care if it's a relatives, these so-called friends, associates, work associates, church or whatever. If they're not for you and you trying to change, they're not helping you or supporting you, then get rid of them, because they will be an liability to you, is the word. Okay, you don't need people that's trying to keep you down in misery. You don't need those people in your life. You need to get rid of them as soon as possible, if not yesterday. And for then, and then self-love. What I like to do is meditation in the morning to to renew my spirit with God. And then I have a few sayings that I've been say what's that I say every morning that I got from my life coach. But you have to start with loving you, changing your environment, and from there you would attract what you believe yourself to be. Because a lot of times, because I wasn't taught, all right, I didn't have self-love. I did not like myself. But then, of course, that was part of why I attracted was that people with similar likes that I had, because I didn't like me. Now, how do I expect anybody to like me when I didn't like me? And
All right,
that's
now,
what I'm at.
okay, now you said, I'm gonna highlight what you said. You said it begins with self. It begins with the company you keep, because people can be a liability. And so you have
Yes.
to love you, change your environment, and then you will start attracting healthy concepts and juju.
Yes, yes. Now, and also, I'm going to tell you right now, I want to put it out for the record. I have left jobs because I'm like, I can't do this no more. It wasn't the job, it was the people that I had to work with.
So
So,
so you saying people have power, and you know, there are a lot of contradictory theories about the impact that others can have on you. People say you have full control over, you know, how much influence people have on you. But to a degree, that's not necessarily true. And we're proving that when we're talking about the environment. So I wanna go to Eric. Eric, you said that you have something to add.
Yeah, and you said what we're going through currently, correct?
Correct. How do
Okay.
you go from our current state to a healthy lifestyle? How do you begin to change?
So just because it's been within a year for me, like Miss Joy said, you got to start with yourself. You can't change the world unless you can change yourself. It starts internal, and sometimes you gotta distance yourself from the world. You got to get off of social media. You got to stop hanging out with everybody. You actually got to work on yourself, and whatever that looks like for you. For me, I was praying, reading the word, meditating, and journaling. And then you get around people that's been where you've been, or that's got a mindset where you want to be. Don't get around people that's got the same mindset of you in your current situation. Go for someone that's a mentor, someone's a little further than you, because they're going to help you navigate through those steps. Because I've been in a group full of men for a while. I got out and then I got back in after I got divorced, and they were able to help financially if they wanted to, but they gave me the steps to get out of my situation. And I just listened. And you have to be able to, you got to listen too. And when I say you got to listen to the good and the bad, but you got to be able to detect what advice you need to get you to the next level. Because you could talk to your mom and your mom never been a business owner and she telling you all this stuff. You like, hold on, that ain't really working. That don't help me. So you could go and I could talk to one of you ladies that have a business and y'all could tell me some stuff and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, let me write this down. You got stuff going on. So you got to know, when you're listening, you got to know what to listen for. And then once you love yourself again, then you just go out there and attack. Like whatever it is that you want, you got to go out there and you got to give it all that you got. And then, you're going to have the hiccups, you're going to have the speed bumps throughout life, but you just got to keep rolling. But that's how you get out of that current situation to something better than what you're in.
Can I interject something, Mr. Eric? Okay, on what you just said. Stop asking people who never been to where you trying to go for directions. They don't know. They would tell you some bull just to make themselves sound important. Stop asking people. That's like asking somebody who is broke, how you gonna be a millionaire?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd love to pipe in on that. I love that I gave you 2 hands up, Joyce, because yeah, I mean, in business, it's been the same thing where people have said, it's like, okay, well, the people who haven't created a business, they're going to want to give you all kinds of advice. And if they haven't done what you want to do, thank you for your feedback and moving on, right? So I love that. And then also, Joyce, like you were saying earlier, get in, and we'll even Eric too. It's the people that we spend time around makes a huge, huge difference. And that saying that we become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. I just wanted to give some more credence to that because it is so true. Seen it too much in my life. My advice for getting, changing that lifestyle to healthy. My current clients laugh because meditation is always the answer. That's what I say. I'm like, meditation and prayer are always the answer. And, because there's so much that can be done in that space. And meditation is, there's so many different ways to do it. That's why it's something I love to teach, because people are like, I don't know how to do it. Am I doing it wrong? But there's a lot of stuff that you can do lots of different times. And that gives you that chance to really hear yourself and your higher power and work through your stuff. And nobody else has to be in there. Nobody has to be criticizing you. You can be exploring yourself and looking at things from every different angle to really see, why am I like this? Why do I still live this pattern? What am I afraid of? And asking yourself those hard questions. I want to do like a brief demonstration because we have what we want right here. And then we have, but yet over here we have where we are. And there's this big gap in the middle. So is it Anika or Annika?
Anika.
Anika. All right. So I want you to unmute yourself for a second. And I want you, when I ask you this question, I want you just to answer as fast as you possibly can. It's not hard. You didn't know there was going to be a pop quiz on your own show, did you?
No, I didn't. That's why I got to close my eyes.
Okay. So when I ask you these questions, like I say, just answer quickly. Okay. So Anika, do you prefer pain or pleasure?
Ooh, pain. First thing come to mind, pain.
Okay. Do you prefer ease or difficulty?
Difficulty.
Girl, you're like ruining my.
I'm sorry. I don't want to lie, but you know why? Because they're my norm. You know what I mean? When I'm in pain, I know what I'm dealing with. I haven't had it easy, and I've been in pain for like 15 years. So it's my norm. But we're talking about the fact that we need to go against the grain because we know that's what we need. And the way that my life changed was that I started going with my second answer instead of the first. And that's how I started to change. 2 years ago, my husband asked me to marry him, and I was like, no. And I was like, sure. Because I had to realize that I was the problem.
Right. Well, and I'm glad you did that, just because it's funny because like all of a sudden, I've been doing this example for a really long time, and all of a sudden it's just I'm getting a lot of people that are having these answers, but like everyone that does is like, I know why. Like I know that that's my go-to, but that's not really
not the right answer, but it's my answer. It's my first instinct, but I know that it's not right.
Okay. Well, so my point with that is though really too, like, when you look at the positive and negative, and I mean, you could ask yourself, I could ask you 20 questions and there would probably be several on there that you would choose the positive. But ultimately, when you take away all of the ego and all of the life experiences and the human part of being on this planet right now, our essence really does want ease and flow. Like every time we say we want to make something change, it's because we want to be happier. It's because there's some result at the end of that, right? So when we are stuck in this moment of realizing what we don't have, so I'm going to use not being able to pay the bills. $200 bill comes in and you're like, oh shit, how am I gonna feed my family? And you got this $200 bill and you're standing there and you're just like starting to feel the stress and you're just like, oh, why can't I get ahead and blah blah blah. You're focusing on what it is that you have right then. Okay, the gap to get from there to whatever it is that you do want, which is the money to pay that bill, it's on an energetic sense, a vibrational frequency, a resonance. Shifting out of that, what would I really prefer in this moment? Oh, I would prefer abundance. I would prefer ease. I would prefer financial stability. And while changing your attitude and your mood or your thoughts in that moment isn't going to magically maybe make $200 appear in your hand, shifting your energy to resonate more with what it is you want to create affords the universe and God the opportunity to bring you that $200 in ways that you might not have even really expected. And so, so for like that moving out of where you are, stop focusing on where you are, stop instead be focusing on where you're wanting to go and the things that you do want to have. So that's just kind of like some manifestation stuff in there that I really like to talk about, because we do tend to get stuck sometimes in that cycle of, I'm in this crappy marriage I'm in a house I hate, and oh my gosh, is this ever going to change? But instead, in that moment, energetically, when we're like, no, okay, I prefer ease, and I'm going to just release it, our vibration raises, and we are more able to, with the law of attraction, like Joyce was saying, we're able to attract more healthy things to us in that sense. So.
Hey, so for sustainability, how to move from I think the best way to do that would be to self-reflect. Self-reflection is basically the most amazing way to clear out your fears and clear out your doubts and think back to where you started and what made you get to this point. And I think, okay, for example, right now, if you're in a bad marriage, you can self-reflect and think, how did I get here? And instead of just like, getting a divorce, for example, isn't going to solve the whole problem. Like talk about toxic families, for example. If you grew up in a toxic family, just moving out of your parents' house wouldn't really solve the problem. You really do need to. You still would have problems with relationships after that. And I remember being in my first year of school, I thought, okay, I'll just move to school and everything will be perfectly awesome. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. I just ended up attracting people who were just like the people I didn't want to meet. So just like moving on wouldn't help it. You do have to self-reflect, and you do have to think about like what got you to that part, what got you in that toxic relationship, what got you in this toxic situation. And then once you self-reflect, you can always move forward. And I always like to make a list of the types of people I want to be around. I think it really helps a lot.
I think what I give my clients advice and aligns with so much of what you guys have said. I think number one, stepping back to step forward is something I talk about a lot, right? Stop trying to do all the things and be everywhere to everyone until you can sit with yourself and understand what you want, what you're in alignment with, what works for you and your lifestyle, as opposed to just trying to do everything and copy what everybody else is doing and be everywhere, because that is not in alignment with what you need or want for your vision. So first we have to step back, right? We have to start creating boundaries, and we have to start eliminating things that don't work for us, as opposed to just saying we want to do everything because look at them, they've got it and it's working for them. We need to find what works for our own personal magic, and that we cannot duplicate what anybody else is doing. And I think the other thing is, goes back to environment, right? Like you said, you need to surround yourself with people who are aligned with where you're going. You know, maybe they're not on the exact same mission as you, but you want to take lessons from the people who have transformed or been on a transformational journey similar to yours, right? That saying of, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? You need people who are up leveled, who are going to challenge you, who can see it from a different perspective. And so it's continuously what I call upcycling your environment, right? Because what fit for my environment yesterday doesn't fit for my environment today, because things are different. That doesn't mean I unfriend people or I stop talking to people, but it means I might spend my time in different places than I did a year ago. Doesn't make one right or wrong. It just means today I need a different challenge than I needed yesterday. And we have to honor that. Otherwise, we're going to remain stuck. And to do that, it can be uncomfortable because, hey, we liked these things. We had our routine. It was great. We knew exactly what we were going to do and how we were going to show up. But we need that change and that shift to take us to the next level. And I think that's so important when we talk about, you know, creating that catalyst to get to that level of sustainability.
Yeah. So I'm piggyback and give kind of like transparent, kind of personal to what she was just saying of how you got to pick what you want to do. So for the majority of my life, I never drove a car. I was scared. I always rode with people. So when they would go places, I would go. It's not necessarily where I wanted to go, but I didn't have transportation, so I would go. And it's like, okay, this is cool, but it was more so their fun. But then when I finally got a car and started, I could go to the same place and be like, well, I don't feel like being here. I can leave. So you got to have those boundaries within yourself to where you can make a decision of what you want to do. And once I got my car and stuff like that, I stopped hanging out with certain people because I didn't want to go where they were going and I wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted to go do different things. And, you know, our relationship came to a certain point and then it kind of ended because you're going in a different way. You could be cool with people for 20, 30, 40 years and you've been stuck them 20, 30, 40 years and you meet somebody new and just their friendship helped you and you didn't move the needle and now you're further down. So it's all about your mindset first. Like everything that we talked about, it's about your mind. Because if you don't want to change inside your mind, or if you don't want to put better things inside your mind, or if you don't, you know, it's like you have a diet within your body, but what's your mind diet? Because if you don't have that, then you're not going to be able to change anything else, because everything that we do comes from what? Our thoughts. So if your thoughts are messed up, then you're messed up and you're going to do messed up things. So you got to get around people that have a different mindset or a mindset above yours so that you can want more and you can do more rather than staying on that, oh, I'm cool. This is just me. I'm just going to stay here and this is how it is. But every day you complaining that it's just me. This is how I am.
I think that's so important. And I preach time and time again, right? You have to lead yourself first. You have to be willing to take that first step first. Because if you're not willing to take that first step, then you're not going to move. And if you're not going to move, nothing around you is going to move, right? And it can be a scary step, but again, lead yourself first, and then things will begin to change.
Doing the same thing over and over again that's called insanity. Expecting different results, that is called insanity. You have to first start with yourself, and it can't be just a thought. You're going to have to put some action behind that thought in order for it to change. It's not going to do you any good to think about something. Oh, whether it's losing weight. Oh, I want to lose weight. But you never walk around the block a couple times to lose weight. If you just think about it, that's all it's going to do is be a thought. Okay, and then next thing you could do is just you will find out from there you want to lose weight, and you start walking around the block a couple times each day. You probably meet people who want to lose to have the same goal. Oh, I want to lose a couple pounds. Y'all start and form a little support group where you all meet at a certain time and you walk around the block a couple times. All right, that's how you have to do things. Start with a thought and just back it up with an action, and then the rest will fall in place. But it starts with you. You're going to want to have to change you. Nobody can change you but you. People, you can't change other people. All you can do is change you. You may think you can change other people, and other people may pretend to change for you. But sooner or later, they're going to show their true colors.
That's right. And so I want to introduce the last question, and I'm going to go to Candace for this one. The last question is, how do we know when we have reached a level of sustainability?
I love this question because when you reach a level of sustainability, you are naturally raising your vibration, and everything is energy, and every molecule puts out its own energy sequence, and you know, we have a lot of them are very unique, and so you know, quantum science has dug into the smallest particles down and down and down and down into the atom. And what they found was that we have condensed light in our cells. And so one of the things that I noticed when you start reaching a healthier lifestyle or sustainable lifestyle or whatever, you know, name you want to give it, people will start to remark on, you're glowing today. Oh, you look so bright. Oh, you look great. They're seeing that with their third eye. They're not really actually like looking at you and seeing, you know, light emit off of your body, but it's happening, but it's naked to the human eye. So the intuitive eye is the one that's seeing that. And so people will start to remark, you look different, you look healthier, you know, and that's a really, really, really good validation. That's great validation to get back. The other thing that I think sticks out for me the most is when you go to react in an old way, and you're like, wait, you know, almost like you put on a sweater that's too small, right? And you put on the sweater and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? This does not feel good. It does not feel comfortable. So when you go to behave the same way, you go to take that drink or go hang out with that person who's not healthy, or you want to snap at your husband or your wife or your kids, right? And that's your old way. You've been trying to change, but then you'll notice when you're reaching a better level, you'll go to do it and be like, you'll catch yourself, and it's like, this just doesn't feel right anymore. This isn't really me. And to me, that's when I know I'm finally like crossing over that line, because I'm like, I don't even want to react in the same ways. It doesn't feel good. And then I'm like, high five, we're doing great. So those are the two things to like watch for. They're my favorite ones to watch for. So there you go. You can slap at her.
I'm dying because I literally like talk to people that I used to be, you know, really cool with. And even back in the day, it bothered me. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, you're so negative. Like, oh my gosh, like stop. Like, oh my gosh, we're doing the same thing every day. Now I just want to scream at them and say, like, stop, like, just don't call me, like, get over it, you know, like. And that's why you don't even doubted that I could be a coach anymore, because I'm like, I'm not as patient as I was before, because I'm in a different place, and I know what I'm saying and why I know what I'm saying it, because I've now crossed the brink of no return, and I now kind of have less, you know, patience for those that are like still trying to leap. And I always use the double dutch, you know, the jump rope analogy. It's like, you got people that say they want to change. I want to change. I want to change. I want to change. I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump. But no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like my arm is tired. I'm not turning anymore. And so listening to you say that, it's the same thing, you know, people in recovery, you know, it's like they get to a stage where they're like, I don't even want to drink. I don't even want to do it, you know, and they have to change who they're around and all these different things. And it's the same concept. So I'm dying over here when Candace was talking, because I've reached it. And I asked the question because so many people have reached it and don't know it. And I think, you know, yesterday somebody told me, he was like, you need to stop thinking that you need this certification, this, You know, he's like, you're going to become a PhD, then you're going to want a postdoc, and then you're going to want this, and then you're going to want that. He's like, stop. And he goes, stop. And I'm like, and I think a lot of us are there, whether it's our health journey, whether it's our relationships, whether it's our business, whether it's our religion. We always think that we're not there, that it's not enough, that we haven't reached the peak. And I want you guys to clarify for listeners, because I think that this is an important concept, that everybody is seeking more credibility. Everybody is seeking more achievement. Everybody's digging, digging, digging. And yes, you have to continue to dig in order to maintain. But I think we have to recognize when we are there, and we have to have gratitude for when we are there and stop minimizing our wins.
You know, just really fast before we move on, somebody else mentioned something earlier too that made me think of this, but evidence journaling. Having a journal specifically for evidence. And this can be for whatever you want. When I started my business, it was evidence of money, evidence that I have all this money I could access, like even credit cards. Like I was looking at like, okay, if I needed money today, where could I go get some, right? And then evidence of that people loved what I was offering. You know, right now we're working on trauma healing with every single person in my family for various reasons. And, you know, and I have this evidence journal for me that I'm a good mom. You know, because I don't believe that. I struggle to believe that because of some of the stuff my family's been through. And so like right now working through that, you know, just sharing some vulnerability with you guys. It's like, no, okay, my kid told me I'm the best mom ever. My teenager actually looked me in the eye and said hello. You know what I mean? That's all evidence. And so anything that you're working on, keep track of that evidence. Because like Anika was saying, it's easy to think that you haven't progressed as much. But when you're having a crap day, sit down and open up that evidence journal and you've got the proof right there. So anyway, thank you for, yeah, let me pop that in there.
I was the one that came up with that journaling, because that's how I started to come with my book. And I decided, you know, this journaling, let me see a pattern here. What is going on here? Why I'm having problems with certain people, but other people, we could be cool and speak and laugh and joke with each other if applicable and keep it moving. So that's what I did. It was more like what you said, just keeping track. And then I said, why not make it a book to share with other people so they find themselves in the same position, predicament or same position or similar, they can just reflect on my book.
I think the journaling is so important, but Anika, to your point, we don't always recognize that we're there because we don't always face those same situations on a daily basis like we used to, because we're not there. So when we are kind of pulled back or face those situations again, that's when we put on the too small sweater, right? I don't face those same situations on a daily basis like I used to, but when for some reason I'm pulled back into that situation or that environment or faced with it, then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, this is just, nope, check the box. We're veering to the right lane. We're not doing that. Where before I haven't recognized that I'm not there because it's just not a day-to-day part of life anymore, because it's different. But you don't always recognize that you have shifted lanes until all of a sudden that traffic is coming and you have to decide what to do.
Well, with me, I can say when I wake up in the morning and I open my two eyes, I am thankful. I am grateful that God had brought me through all this, because I could easily look back at a time where I didn't have anything and was depressed, down and out. God brought me through all this. Now, we all strive, we all should strive to do better, to maintain and do better on an everyday. Okay, we all should, but it's good to wake up in the morning and to let God know, thank you for waking me up, and I'm not where I used to be. Okay, yes, I want to go to the maintain every day, and I want to go to the next level. But just take a moment to thank God where I'm not where I used to be. And I'm very, I have to take time to proud of myself too, because a lot of times we get to get busy with life. Things happen. We get to run in here, run in there. I think that's why COVID came in effect, which to slow us all down, to say, wait a minute, let's spend time with God. Let's spend time with our families, our household, really to take a part of what we really do have.
I think that's important. And, I love the fact that she called it an evidence journal, because I've never even thought of that. My kids, Candace talked about like food intolerances and like illnesses. And of course I have a food journal. I even went to one of the stores and got the little, it looks like a shopping sheet, but you can journal, what I ate today. I love those little things because I'm trying to teach my kids how to record their day, how to, be able to recognize what their symptoms are according to what they did and all this kind of thing. And even as coaches, I think we all fail to do the things that we teach. I am the worst client. And so I love that because I've never heard of that, or at least it named that. But that is the best way to keep track of your progress. And once you keep track of your progress, you will realize that you have less work to do than what you think you actually have to do. And I think a lot of us, we get overwhelmed by what we think. We think that we're here, and we're actually here. I mean, we're almost to the finish line, but we all, in our minds, we're here. And each baby step is like this, but I mean, we're now like 10 years old and we're not a baby anymore. And we've taken a gigantic step, and we do not give ourselves credit. And I think if we're able to recognize, the self-awareness of where we came from and where we're going and where we are and the actual impact that we have on others, I think that that's actually sustainability.
I've been having that conversation with my clients about during this crazy COVID time, because they feel like they haven't done enough because they're not doing the same stuff that they were pre-COVID. But when we sit and we write it down, look, you're homeschooling your children, you did some spring cleaning, you did all these stuff with your children, you're teaching them household lessons as opposed to textbook lessons. You're doing stuff. It's different stuff, but when you write it all down, you've done a lot of things, and you've made a lot of memories and experiences that are more valuable sometimes than filling your calendar full of events you need to attend. But we don't always realize it because we're just going through the day. So you have to write the stuff down. You have to acknowledge all the stuff, big or small, that you do.
I really love the statement you made about taking steps and not really realizing that, because like, okay, the thing about taking steps is that, okay, when we think about, especially when we think about our future, when we think about what we want to visualize, we basically think, most people think, oh, I want six figure, unless you're making like, let's say $3,000 a month, right? So for you to get to that six figure, realistically, most people would have gone from 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 to 6,000 to that six figure. But because it's such, there's so many steps in between from that 0 to six figure, they don't really recognize that. They don't really see all this because the steps are slower.
Absolutely. And I think we need to really, take the time to do the work, And so I'm going to close us out. And what I want to do is, since we've been talking about all this, I have been keeping track of this because this is going to be a blog. It's going to be a video. But, I want to, oftentimes when people see podcasts and all these things, they don't have, the steps. And I really want to provide people with the steps. And you guys have given it all throughout this conversation. And so we're going to highlight it. And as I call your name, I want you to give one word, for listeners with the concepts that I get about. So you guys said it starts with you. It begins with self. One word, Kathy.
My one word is vision.
Candace.
Meditation.
Eric.
Heart.
Joyce.
Mindset.
Ibukun.
Forward.
All right. The next one is the company you keep. Kathy.
Growth.
Candace.
High level.
Eric.
Um, Success.
Joyce.
Uplifting.
Ibukun.
Truth.
The 5 closest people to you. Kathy.
Up leveling.
Candace.
Inner circle.
Eric.
Loyal.
Joyce.
I would have to say inner circle.
Ibukun.
Love.
Number 4, meditation, self-care. Kathy.
Necessity.
Candace.
Daily.
Eric.
Like the daily.
Meditation. Joyce.
I'd say priority, first priority.
Ibukun.
Essential.
All right, number 5, change your energy and expectations. Kathy.
Change your life. Sorry, that's more than one word, but it's necessary.
That's all right. Candace.
Optimism.
Eric.
Perspective.
Joyce.
Mindset again.
Ibukun.
I'll have to say mindset.
Number 6, law of attraction. Kathy.
Authenticity.
Candace.
Fun.
Eric.
Honest.
Joyce.
Can be scary.
Ibukun.
Embodiment.
Number 7, self-reflection. Kathy.
Oh, mindset.
Candace.
Surrender.
Ooh, Eric.
Self-assess.
Say it again, Eric.
Self-assess.
Joyce.
Fun.
Ibukun.
Super.
Say it again.
Super.
All right, number 8, determine how you got where you are. Reverse engineer. Kathy.
I'd say map or path.
Candace.
Self-reflection.
Eric.
Heart.
Joyce.
I would have to say determination.
Ibukun.
Seeing.
Say it again.
Seeing. Like to see.
To see. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 9, create boundaries.
Necessity.
Oh yeah.
Hold the line.
What'd you say?
Hold the line.
Hold the line. Barricade. Eric.
No. No. That's the one word. It's no. Boundaries.
Oh,
No.
oh, somebody on our Boundaries podcast said that there's a book of no. And I was like, I need that. I need that like 14 times. Joyce.
Priority.
Ibukun.
Mindfulness.
All right, number 10, eliminate.
I would say redirection.
Release.
Eric.
Subtraction.
Joyce.
Dismiss.
Ibukun.
Stepping out.
Number 11, environment.
Peaceful.
Supportive.
Mindset.
Joyce.
Loving.
Ooh. Ibukun.
I'm gonna have to go with peaceful.
All right, number 12, alignment.
Energy.
Spirit.
I gotta go with energy.
I have to go with spirit.
Ibukun.
I have to go with closeness.
Would you say closeness?
Yeah, closeness. Closeness with what we want. Closeness to positivity.
All right. Number 13, build a team.
Network.
Trust.
Relationship.
Mindset.
Ibuka?
Togetherness.
All right. Number 14, honor the challenges.
I'd say bravery.
Lean in.
Fight.
I would say lead the challenges. Yeah, I go with fight.
Struggle.
Number 15, we need change. Change is a catalyst.
Necessity.
Surrender.
You.
Amen.
Necessity.
Number 16, make a decision.
It's 2 words, but no hesitation.
Action.
Now.
Thoughtfulness.
Sure.
Number 17, lead yourself first.
I'll go
It's
with
your words.
boldness.
Kathy's like, I don't know, that's my speech.
You just stole my stuff. I don't know.
I was thinking.
No, I just go back to leadership, right? You have to lead.
Leadership, that's right.
What was the phrase again?
Lead yourself first.
Okay. Self-love.
Ooh.
Example.
Ooh.
Confidence.
Forwardness.
And 18, evidence journaling. Identify your patterns.
Growth.
Celebrate.
You said one word, right?
Yep, you could. Everybody else has done a statement. It don't work. It don't matter.
I'll say release.
Examine.
Moving forward. Positivity. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, positivity.
All right. Now, with all of that, I hope listeners and viewers have dug a little deeper about what it means to create and live a sustainable lifestyle. You know, as life coaches, as business owners, we are influencers, but we are experts because we have lived it, we have studied it, we accept it, and we continue to strive to be better than we were yesterday. So with all of that, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of Your Voice, Your Power with Anika. And as always, stay powerful.